What holds greater value, the glitter of diamonds or the breath of history captured in precious metal? Today, we delve into the story of one of the most magnificent and tragically lost treasures, the Portland Tiara, a symbol of the Edwardian era, whose destiny became a true drama for all of Britain. Many jewels, once adorning queens or shining at the balls of the aristocratic elite, are today rightfully considered national treasures of their countries. In England, however, one such iconic adornment, an embodiment of historical memory and a masterpiece of jewellery art, was the magnificent diamond tiara of the Duchess of Portland. For a long time, this work of art was kept in the former residence of the Dukes of Portland, the majestic Welbeck Abbey estate in Nottinghamshire. The ancient mansion, transformed into a museum, carefully guarded its treasures, and the Portland Tiara, created at the very beginning of the 20th century, was its principal gem. Lovers of antique jewellery, history connoisseurs, and ordinary museum visitors alike could admire its exquisite brilliance until the fateful year of 2018. But how could a masterpiece of such magnitude, protected within the walls of a historic residence, vanish so completely? The audacity of this crime staggers the imagination. One November night in 2018, the tiara, to the immense sorrow of connoisseurs of beauty and the entire British nation, was stolen. Audacious thieves, like phantoms, infiltrated the mansion. Their actions were honed to perfection. They needed only about 1.5 minutes to breach the armoured display case and make off with the jewel before security arrived at the scene. It is known that British law enforcement, aware of the value of Welbeck Abbey's exhibits, had developed a very serious, multi-layered security system to protect the tiara and other treasures of the mansion. It included pressure sensors, infrared beams, and much more. However, the thieves, whose preparation inspires a grim admiration for its thoroughness, proved more cunning and one step ahead. The bandits' plan was not merely well thought out, it was meticulously calculated. Apparently, the criminals had studied the alarm system in detail and intended somehow to bypass even the protection of the display cases themselves. During their daring raid, they even left a counterfeit tiara at the crime scene, a replica which they placed in the emptied display case instead of the original, a move designed to buy time. However, despite all their cunning, the alarm did eventually sound, and the robbers had to retreat hastily, taking the priceless artifact with them. The police were baffled, and England held its breath. But who was behind this daring robbery, and was it their only target? For a long time, the English police were unable to find the criminals who committed this high-profile robbery. The investigation made no progress at all. Only after some time did law enforcement officers find the car in which the thieves had presumably fled the crime scene. The vehicle was discovered not far from Welbeck Abbey, in a secluded spot, completely burned out. The criminals had clearly attempted to destroy any evidence. Months passed, then years, and only in 2022 were some members of the gang that carried out this audacious raid finally tracked down, caught by the police, and arrested. During the subsequent investigation and court proceedings, it emerged that the theft of the Portland Tiara was far from the only crime on the defendant's record. This gang specialized in robbing wealthy homes. In addition to the Portland mansion, the bandits robbed the homes of several other English aristocrats, as well as the mansions of 2 famous British football players whose names were not disclosed in the press for their safety. One of these footballers was at home with his family during the raid. The criminals, without ceremony, tied the man's hands and, threatening him, led him through the house, forcing him to show where valuables and money were kept. As the victimized athlete later testified in court, they behaved with extreme cynicism, insolence, and audacity, showing not the slightest fear. The criminals were ultimately sentenced to long prison terms. Two English jewelers who collaborated with the gang were also punished for receiving stolen goods. However, despite the arrests and convictions, the police were never able to ascertain what the bandits had done with the priceless tiara of the Duchess of Portland. This became a true tragedy for the English people and the global cultural community. After all, the Portland Tiara was rightfully considered a national treasure of Britain, a symbol of a bygone era. The criminals were punished, but the main question remained unanswered. Where is the tiara itself? And was it the only treasure stolen from the Duchess on that fateful day? Alas, along with this remarkable adornment, this marvel of jewellery, the thieves also stole another relic, inextricably linked to Duchess Winifred, an antique diamond brooch. This brooch, though less known to the general public than the tiara, also possessed significant historical and artistic value. Like the tiara, Duchess Winifred wore this brooch to the coronation of King Edward VII and Queen Alexandra, making it not just a beautiful trinket, but a witness to an important historical event. Descriptions of the brooch itself are, unfortunately, found less frequently in sources than descriptions of the tiara, but it is known that it was made of diamonds and likely harmonized in style with the Duchess's main adornment. Perhaps it was part of a parure, or was commissioned from the same jeweler. Its loss compounded the grief of the theft, as two artifacts preserving the memory of the splendor of the Edwardian court and the personality of the Duchess herself disappeared at once. Two jewels, two witnesses to history, vanished together. But to understand the full depth of this loss, let us journey back to the times when these treasures shone at one of the most lavish events of the early 20th century. The coronation of King Edward VII and his consort, Queen Alexandra of Denmark, held on August 9, 1902, in Westminster Abbey, was an event truly grand and long-awaited. England awaited this celebration with particular eagerness, as it was the first coronation in Britain in over 60 years, an entire epoch. Queen Victoria, who ruled the country before Edward VII, was, as is known, a long-lived monarch, and her lengthy reign, though glorious, had created a certain vacuum of the lavish court ceremonies characteristic of a new sovereign's accession to the throne. The coronation of Edward VII was meant to usher in a new era, brilliant and full of hope. And it did not disappoint. Westminster Abbey was decorated with unprecedented luxury, and the guest list included representatives of royal houses from all over Europe and the highest British aristocracy. Duchess Winifred of Portland attended this historic coronation not merely as an honoured guest. The wife of the 6th Duke of Portland was accorded a special honour. She was invited to Westminster Abbey as one of the active participants in the solemn ceremony. During the coronation rite, along with 3 other of England's noblest duchesses, the Duchess of Buccleuch, the Duchess of Marlborough, and the Duchess of Sutherland, Winifred of Portland carried the magnificent train of Queen Alexandra's purple robe. This was one of the most prestigious roles for an aristocratic lady at a coronation, requiring not only noble birth, but also an impeccable reputation and stately presence. For the Duchess of Portland, this was not just a social debut, but a moment of triumph, for which she had prepared with particular care. And the principal adornment of her ensemble was the tiara, created especially for this day. Naturally, for such an important and responsible event as participating in the coronation ceremony, Duchess Winifred prepared with the utmost thoroughness. Her attire, her manners, and of course her jewels, had to befit the solemnity of the moment and her high status. The tiara, commissioned for her by her loving husband, William Cavendish Bentinck, the 6th Duke of Portland, from the renowned jewellery house of Cartier, turned out to be one of the most beautiful, exquisite, and undoubtedly expensive tiaras among all those that adorned the heads of the English ladies present at the coronation of Edward VII and Alexandra. It perfectly complemented her appearance, emphasizing her natural beauty and aristocratic bearing. Winifred Anne Dallas York, Duchess of Portland, herself was an extraordinary individual and highly respected in British society. Born in 1863, she married the Duke of Portland in 1889. Their marriage, which lasted over half a century, was considered by contemporaries to be quite happy and harmonious. Duke William adored his wife, and possessing an immense fortune, spared no expense on lavish gifts for her, among which the Cartier tiara was perhaps the most famous. Duchess Winifred is remembered by posterity not only as the owner of magnificent jewellery. She was for a long time a lady-in-waiting to Queen Alexandra, and later received the honourable and responsible post of Mistress of the Robes to the consort of Edward VII. She held this position from 1901 to 1910, and then served in the same capacity to Queen Mary from 1910 to 1913, and again to Queen Alexandra, by then a dowager, from 1913 until the Queen's death in 1925. This attests to the highest level of trust and closeness to the royal family. Furthermore, Winifred of Portland went down in history as one of the most ardent animal welfare advocates. She was president of the Royal Society for the Protection of Birds and vice president of the Royal Society for the Prevention of Cruelty to Animals. The Duchess dedicated many years of her life to this noble activity, demonstrating sincere kindness and compassion. Contemporaries remembered Winifred not only as a kind, responsive, and intelligent woman, but also as a recognized beauty. She possessed a tall stature, which lent her majesty, an ideal figure, and regular, delicate facial features, often noted in portraits and photographs. Such a striking personality deserved an adornment capable of emphasizing her stature and position, and the House of Cartier created a true masterpiece for her. The famous Portland Tiara was crafted by the artisans of Cartier's Parisian branch in 1902, specifically for the coronation of King Edward VII. The client was the 6th Duke of Portland, who wished for his wife to shine at this historic event. In creating this masterpiece, the jewelers used several family diamonds belonging to the Portland ducal line, which gave the adornment special historical and sentimental value. The tiara's frame was crafted from gold and platinum, traditional Cartier materials, ensuring the structure's strength and lightness, while also best accentuating the diamond's brilliance. The most prominent and central element of the diadem was a large cushion-cut diamond, known as the Portland diamond. This stone likely had its own rich history before becoming the heart of the tiara. On either side of this outstanding central diamond were two more large pear-shaped, or teardrop, diamonds, creating a harmonious and majestic composition. This central group of 3 magnificent diamonds was surrounded by jewelers with elegant scrolls, garlands, and pendants, entirely encrusted with smaller diamonds of various cuts. The tiara's design was executed in the garland style, characteristic of the Edwardian era, with its lightness, openwork, and floral motifs. The tiara was distinguished not only by its beauty, but also by its versatility. The ladies of the House of Portland could wear it in 2 different ways. The first, most formal option, which Duchess Winifred chose for the coronation, involved the use of special finials in the form of diamond clusters, or aigrettes, attached above the tiara's upper scrolls. These elements made the tiara visually very tall, lending its wearer a particularly majestic and regal appearance. The second option was more modest and everyday, if one can use such a term for such a luxurious adornment. The tiara could also be worn without these additional finials, making it less formal and suitable for other grand occasions. Such transformability was highly valued at the time, allowing the jewel to be adapted to different outfits and events. But what became of this work of art after it left Cartier's workshop and graced the Duchess's head? And how did it end up in a museum display case, becoming a target for audacious robbers? Following its triumphant debut at the coronation of Edward VII, Duchess Winifred of Portland wore this magnificent tiara on several other occasions at particularly important court events and balls, where it invariably drew admiration. The adornment became a family heirloom. After Duchess Winifred's death in 1954, the tiara, along with other family jewels, was passed down by inheritance to her descendants, remaining the property of the Dukes of Portland family. For decades, it was kept in the family treasury, occasionally appearing in public on the ladies of the lineage. In the late 20th or early 21st century, the decision was made to loan the tiara, along with some other historical family valuables, for exhibition in the museum organized in their former ancestral residence, Welbeck Abbey. This allowed the general public to see this masterpiece of jewellery art and connect with the history of aristocratic England. The Portland Tiara became the centerpiece of the museum's jewellery collection, attracting visitors from all over the world. It was displayed in a specially equipped case with reinforced protection under the vigilant supervision of security. It seemed its future as a museum artifact was secure. Years passed. The tiara exchanged the glitter of ballrooms for the subdued light of a museum display case, but its destiny was preparing another, most tragic turn. What, in the opinion of experts, happened to it after the theft? Despite the fact that the main members of the gang that committed the robbery were caught and convicted, and the receivers of the stolen goods were also punished, the Portland tiara itself and Duchess Winifred's accompanying brooch were never found. This is a bitter reality that law enforcement, experts, and the entire British society have had to accept. Most specialists in the field of jewellery art and criminology agree that we will most likely never see the luxurious Portland tiara or the brooch in their original form again. The most probable and sorrowful scenario is that the criminals, recognizing the uniqueness and recognizability of these items, dismantled them into individual stones. This is standard practice for thieves of such valuables. Individual diamonds, especially if they do not have a unique historical cut or engraving, are much easier to sell on the black market without attracting undue attention. The central, largest stones, such as the Portland diamond, may have been recut to alter their appearance and hinder identification. Then these stones were likely sold piecemeal through clandestine channels. According to some experts, there is a possibility that the diamonds were illegally smuggled by the thieves to other countries, for example, to Turkey or other regions known as transit points for the trade in stolen jewels. The loss of the Portland tiara is not merely a financial detriment quantifiable in millions of pounds sterling. It is, above all, an irretrievable loss to the history of jewellery art and the cultural heritage of Great Britain. A unique work by Cartier's masters has been destroyed, a witness to an era, a bearer of memory of an outstanding woman and significant historical events. This story is a bitter reminder of the fragility of heritage. But what makes some jewels not just expensive trinkets, but true symbols of eras and destinies? The Portland tiara was not just a collection of precious stones and metal. It was a symbol of its time, the Edwardian era, with its splendor, optimism, and adherence to tradition. It reflected the status and taste of one of Britain's most prominent aristocratic families. For Duchess Winifred, it was not only an adornment, but also a mark of her position, a testament to her husband's love, and a reminder of her participation in one of the key events in British history. The loss of such artifacts is always a small death of a piece of history that can no longer be resurrected. The sparkle of diamonds can be recreated, but the spirit of an era, embodied in a unique design and linked to specific individuals and events, vanishes forever. What other secrets do stolen treasures hold? And are we ever destined to see even echoes of the Portland Tiara's brilliance again? This question, alas, remains unanswered for now. Share your thoughts in the comments. What stories of lost jewels do you know? Don't forget to give this video a like if you found it interesting, and subscribe to our channel so you don't miss new stories about great jewelry masterpieces and their amazing destinies.